Hi, my name is Sheri Hadfield, and I help people in chronic pain to thrive by reducing their pain, depression, and exhaustion so that they can get back to the freedom to fully enjoy their relationships, their careers, and their hobbies. All right, we are on part 4 of my overview of things that cause chronic pain, the root cause of chronic pain, and in my opinion, the key to helping you significantly reduce your pain. All right, so we've already talked about in another video trauma, a video on limiting beliefs, a video on long-term memories, and now we're to the big event. And the big event is an event that happens that is tied to the chronic pain. And that can include an illness, an injury, and it can also be that the event itself is the kickoff event. And that's very confusing to people when all of a sudden they realize they're in chronic pain and they can't even quite tie it back to an event. Or most of the time people aren't really trying to take it back to an event. They're trying to take it back to an actual illness or injury. Those make more sense. But sometimes it is just an event that happened. An example, I think the example we used in the last one was somebody losing their job and then getting a new job and their boss triggered them. And let's use, you find out that a family member or a child of yours has a chronic illness or chronic injury. That's a massive event. And it can also be that it elevates you to a point that you move into chronic pain. And that's the third one. So there's illness, injury, and event. And one of my favorite ways I had it explained to me, and it actually didn't have anything to do with chronic pain, it was a functional medicine doctor. That's what he did, yeah. Was explaining to me health. And I was mad. I'd been hurting for a long time. I didn't feel well. And now they're going to put me on this really severe limiting diet to try to get my health restored. And I was on board for it. But, it's just how many more things do you have to give up? And it's not giving them up that's as hard as finding replacements. It's hard to give up all the products that you have used forever and they work for you. And then each one of them is like, an expedition to find organic mascara that works, or that works for me. They may work, different skin types, different habits, different climates, but each one of those things becomes an expenditure of time and energy to replace things that you already feel like are working fine. And I remember complaining to him that, look, my dad had a garden in our backyard, and I used to sit out there as a kid and pull food right up out of the ground, spray it with a local water hose. It's local water. Spray it off with the hose and eat it. It didn't make me sick. Why are you now saying I can't eat all of these foods? I don't think that I've ever been particularly sensitive to food. And so he was explaining to me not only are the procedures, the pesticides, our agriculture, the GMOs, there's so many things that are different. So he was trying to get me to understand the changes that happen in your body sometimes, in addition to what's going on environmentally. The environmental things change, but your chemistry changes where you can't tolerate things that you used to tolerate before. And it doesn't mean that it will be that way forever. It could be. But there's a good chance that when you get healthy, you start adding a lot of those things back on a slow basis, so you can tell, does it bother me or doesn't it? And if it doesn't, add it back. Well, the concept that he explained to me was really brief, but it made a lot of sense to me, and it makes a lot of sense to me with my chronic pain clients. And it called it the rain barrel. And it is, I've drawn a picture here of a rain barrel, and it's those big barrels that you put outside to collect rain, to get rainwater. And it's amazing that you can have this big old barrel and you've got little bitty raindrops that are falling into it. So it takes a long time to fill it up. But once you get it to the top and it's about to overflow, every drop that goes in, or every couple of drops that goes in, causes it to overflow. And then you get trouble. Same thing with like an air conditioning unit in your attic. You know, the pan underneath is great, holds water, everything's draining fine. Well, when the drain gets backed up and the pan gets full, every drop drops into your insulation, into your walls. It's a nightmare. The rain barrel is a very similar concept. And what he was talking about is when your body, when you've had this going on, trauma, limiting beliefs, triggers for these long-term memories in the background going on, and then you have an event, that a massive illness, a massive injury, a very emotional event in your life that's meaningful, and particularly if any one of these triggers back to a long-term memory or childhood issue, and it may not be clear to you why it would. When this happens, the big event, a lot of times that's when you hit the rain barrel. You've gotten to a point where your body, your central nervous system is oversensitized. You're constantly being pushed into fight or flight. So you have all the chemicals that get released from that. You've got adrenaline and cortisol, and your body is operating at a level where if this goes on for very long, you're probably not sleeping well, you've got some anxiety, you're starting to have resentment and anger, or depression and anxiety. Sometimes they go together, sometimes it's completely the opposite. It's just whichever way it comes out for you. So you have all of this going on, and then you have a big event happen, and you reach the place in the rain barrel where any new chemical, any new change in your life can be, or anything that you consider negative at all, can be enough to just put you over the edge. So your rain barrel is overflowing all the time. So I made a list of the things, because this happened to me. All of a sudden you start having chemical sensitivities. And if you've had an illness or an injury, in addition to that, you start a lot of times taking medications and prescriptions, and you're in fight or flight. So there's so much new in your body, and your body is sending so much of its resources. Remember, we talked about in fight or flight, your immune system and your digestion slow down or stop in order, along with a lot of other things, that anything that's not considered necessary for you to stay alive in that threat. Because when you're in fight or flight, your body thinks you're in threat mode. So it's constantly allocating resources where it's helping you save your life. So chemical sensitivities. In addition to the stress chemicals that are being released in the fight or flight chemicals that are being released in your body, I found, and a lot of my clients have found, certain foods start to bother you, beauty products, cleaning products, pesticides, heavy metals, stress, pain, and tension. Any of those things cause the rain barrel to overflow even more. So it starts being another vicious cycle of chronic pain. So we want to, and I couldn't tell personally, and he's so honest, I couldn't tell that any food was bothering me. My daughter was studying a bunch of things for a situation that she was in, and she said, why don't you just try not eating gluten? And I was like, no. Pizza and beer forever. No. And she convinced me to try it, and so I did, fully expecting it was going to make no difference whatsoever. And this was several years before I got out of chronic pain. This was before the abscesses. It might have been during the abscesses, but they hadn't put me on a diet. We hadn't figured that out. It was just starting to happen. And so my daughter said, just for a day, like, no gluten. She had to keep telling me what was gluten, what was not gluten. And I had such a bad attitude. But I figured, I've tried everything to get out of pain. If somebody really thinks, and someone that loves you, that cutting gluten out is going to make a big difference, then I'll try it. So I did. I completely cut it out. And I wanted to lie about it. And I realized really quickly, like within a day or two, that it did not stop the chronic pain, but it lessened the intensity. And when I would go back to it, all of a sudden, because I eliminated it for a brief period of time, when I would go back to it, I would be able to feel, wow, it's like the dial goes up. And it would make both sides of my spine just kind of like radiate pain. And it definitely upped the pain. It's unfortunate that stopping eating gluten didn't stop me from having chronic pain, but it did help me feel better. So food products, beauty products, cleaning products, pesticides, heavy metals, increased stress, increased pain, increased tension, all of those factors can put you over the rain barrel. So I wanted you to have a chance to look at this, and then tomorrow I'm going to go over the whole thing one more time, because we went into each piece, then let's go over the whole thing one more time. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave me a comment and I'll answer you personally. And if you have interest in working together, there's a strategy call link below also. And you fill out a survey, we'll jump on a call. It's 45 minutes, it's free. We'll talk about your situation, talk about my experience thus far, and see if it would make sense to work together. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a great day.